So I'd say it's pretty obvious by now that I'm a huge Super 7 fan, from MOTU to pretty much every other thing that they put out, and they're very good at taking my money, especially in an unexpected way. And this time they released some new figures that I have been anticipating, but I had no idea were actually coming out. So today we got a set of 6 new figures in the ReAction line, and we're going to start off by looking at SCAREGLOW here. So we've got some amazing, amazing card art. That's kind of the big draw for me. Well, one of them. Obviously, there's a toy in here. But the artwork on these things is absolutely amazing by Jason Edmiston. So you've got SCAREGLOW there. All the artwork is very similar. We've got Ram Man. We've got FAKER. We've got Evil-Lyn. We've got ORKO with a really cool special bubble. It's kind of poofed up here so he stands at the top of the bubble rather than sitting at the bottom. And then lastly we have got Mecca Nakir. So all of these have fantastic artwork on them, and they have an amazing spread of art on the back that is kind of vintage He-Man with the kind of gray skull in the background. It looks like a diorama type setup. All the figures in there, as well as the 2 battle damaged battle armor He-Man and Skeletor, which were recent con exclusives somewhere. So we're going to pull these guys out carefully because I saved this card art, and take a look. Alright guys, so here they are out of the packaging, and for those not familiar, this is Wave 4 of the ReAction series from Super 7, and these are meant to mimic the look and feel of vintage Kenner figures, you know, like vintage Star Wars figures, in the MOTU style. So, you know, we've never had figures like this from MOTU until now, and I think Super 7 is absolutely killing it, and I think this might be my favorite wave up till now, just for one particular reason in general. But this is a pretty solid spread of figures. ORKO is absolutely amazing. So we're going to look at each of them really quickly one by one. There's not tons and tons to talk about just because limited articulation type of situation, but they still look really cool, and we're going to give them all their fair share of time. We're going to start things off with Mecca Nakir simply because he has kind of an extra thing going on for him that I think a lot of people might be interested in. So he is definitely modeled after his vintage look. We've got the humongous helmet on his head. You can see that face sculpted in there. And then the armor piece that wraps around his chest. He's got his classic vintage style club here. A lot of sculpted detail on this thing. He can hold it in his right hand only. It has a grip on it. The left hand is not. We've got those painted silver boots. And he's very minimal on paint apps, not tons. Mostly just these silver applications. We get the green for the belt, but it's, you know, what's necessary really. We're not going to get tons and tons of paint apps on these things simply because these are meant to mimic a vintage style, and I'm perfectly fine with that. The big thing, the cool thing for this particular figure is that he sort of, but not really, has an action feature. It's more of an assisted action feature. So previously, we've seen the vintage figure where his head will pop up. The classics figure tried to mimic that with removable pieces. This figure does it with a little lever on his back. So it's got knockout weapon action as well, and you can push this lever up and his head will extend up, and it will actually stay in place as well. So I just think that's absolutely cool. Very, very cool. You got that sculpted detail in there, so it looks mechanical, it looks robotic. Very much reminiscent of the vintage figure or the classics figure. So just for that alone, Mecca Nakir's a winner for me. Next up, we've got Evil-Lyn, and she is, again, a representation of her more vintage toy counterpart. You've got that yellow Simpsons type skin with her blue and navy blue armor on there, so most of the paint apps are going to be that lighter blue color. And I think in general, she looks pretty solid. Her face is kind of basic, almost kind of rough. She looks kind of mannish to me, but I've come to expect that from this line, and I kind of get why they do that as well. She does have her long staff wand, and then of course as far as articulation, she's got a swiveling head, rotating arms, there's nothing at the waist or anything, and then we've got the legs that can swing back and forth. So again, they're very, very basic in what they do, but they're meant to mimic a specific style, and when it comes down to it, these really kill it for me, and this absolutely works for a nice Evil-Lyn figure. Definitely the biggest ReAction figure so far. We've got Ram Man here. So this guy is absolutely huge compared to the other figures, at least in terms of girth and overall bulkiness. So we can pop Mecca Nakir's head down there. You can see from a side-by-side comparison, he has got some thickness going on. Look at these guns on his arms, too. He has some enormous muscles. It's crazy. He's got his telltale little small axe. You can see he's got that huge armor piece around him with some nice, vibrant metallic paint. Same goes on his belt, which has the nice skull sculpted in there. Same articulation on this guy as well, except he has no head articulation. Honestly, I don't know how they could have done it at this scale, so I'm kind of glad they didn't try. And then the legs can move as well. So definitely a cool representation of Rain Man. He's not the squatty, tiny version that you see in the cartoon, the one who's really short. He's definitely just kind of the average height type character Rain Man, but he's got tremendous bulk going on, so you wouldn't want to get in this Rain Man's way. One of my all-time favorite MOTU characters, and I know I'm not alone in that regard, and not just because he has an orange sword and orange armor. We have got the always popular Faker. This is one that I've really been looking forward to in this line. I think they killed it. Obviously, he's just a recolored He-Man with different armor on his chest, but I think it works really, really well. We've got the vintage style sword with the bracer on the side there, kind of to hold it in place. He again can hold his weapon in his right hand because the left hand is a more open palm hand, relaxed style. Same kind of articulation that we saw on Evil-Lyn with the head rotating, arms swiveling, and legs swiveling. And he is, in general, kind of a basic figure. You know, Faker he's a blue He-Man for the most part, but you can't deny how cool he looks, and he always works really well next to He-Man, next to Skeletor, and I think this one is no exception. Maybe one of my favorite figures in the line so far, and I honestly wasn't really expecting him to be. We've got ORKO here, so this is just the cutest little ORKO I think I've ever seen. He looks amazing, and I didn't think I was going to be so excited about him until I got him out of the package. He is one of those figures that, you know, he doesn't have any legs, so he's always floating around. He has flowing robes, so he gets the weird kind of articulation where you've got that big chunk of plastic sticking out when you try to move the legs, which is fine with me. He's always just going to sit there. We've got a gripping hand for his magic wand. We've got an open palm hand, you know, maybe casting some spells. The head can rotate. You've got those big blue Trollan ears sticking out of the outside of his head, the nice big O on his chest, and those beady yellow eyes just look fantastic. I think everything about this figure screams ReAction while also being quintessential MOTU. I could not be happier with this figure. There's a reason I've waited so long in this review to talk about him, but of course there is one more figure to talk about, and I'm sure it's everybody's most wanted. It goes without saying that SCAREGLOW is easily one of the most popular MOTU characters. He is a skeleton, he glows in the dark, he has a cape. Is there anything more you really need to say? This figure is pretty much the definition of cool for this ReAction line. I think the paint apps on the skeleton bone structure that they put on his body is fantastically applied, very clean. You've got the furry loincloth, you've got his evil kind of monster type feet that we've seen previously through other iterations of the character. You've got those nasty black teeth, the beady red eyes, and that big crack down his skull. He does not come with a key to Castle Grayskull like the Classics figure does. I've had some people asking me already. He does not. He does come with his halberd, his scythe type weapon, in a nice green neon plastic, and then he has a very vintage style vinyl type cape that is cast in just the most vibrant and bright purple that I have seen in a while. It's very vintage, very retro looking, and overall I think they absolutely killed it with this figure. At this point, this might be my favorite figure in the entirety of the line. Maybe there's some really good contenders in this line, but SCAREGLOW is another level of cool, and yes, I know you want to know, he does glow in the dark. So maybe this wasn't so much a review as a video where I say, hey, I like these toys because I think they're cool, but that's really what it is. I absolutely love this line of figures. I think Super7 does a fantastic job with ReAction. I bought them when they were being distributed through Funko. I still buy them now that Super7 has it exclusively again. I think they are a really cool way to get figures out in a different style for properties that we love. A lot of people seem to want to hate on this line, especially when it comes to MOTU fans. I know there are just tons and tons of purists out there, people that just don't like this. But hey, if you don't like it, you don't have to buy them. They're not hurting your wallet by sitting on the shelf still. I do think that for people who really dig this line, you are going to be very happy with this wave in general. I don't think there's a single bad figure in this wave. I'm not really sure there's a bad figure in the line, honestly. Super7 really knows how to push this type of product out, and I am a huge fan of this one. They really killed it with SCAREGLOW. I'm glad they included the action type feature with Mecca Nakir, and ORKO is a very unexpectedly awesome figure. I mean, it's ORKO, he's cool anyway, but this figure really does it for me. So that's going to do it for this look at the Super7 ReAction Wave 4 Masters of the Universe figures. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know what you think. And until next time, guys.